Welcome back to The American Dream. In season 2, one of the things that's so exciting about this is we're not just talking about businesses anymore. We're diving into the personal stories of the business owners, the personal aspect of growth, ambition, and really whatever this American Dream thing is that we all keep talking about is what I love about it.
And I think that's my favorite part. Being able to help host these segments, you get to find out who people really are. And I think having the shift now, being out here in the real world where it actually happens, you get to dive into people's story just a little bit more, see where their passion comes from, see what they do every single day. It makes sense. Why didn't we do this earlier?
It's a good question.
We do it in the spirit of going against the grain of the negative media, giving inspiring information, and having people walk away from our show with something of value.
You're seeing a disruption in both the real estate and the mortgage space.
A lot of people are just not willing to put in the work.
What video does is that it demands an emotional response.
You know what I love about the show? It's totally unscripted. One of the things about a company like ours is, as we're showcasing the American Dream, we're also learning about the company itself, right?
Absolutely.
So I think listening and learning is what really makes entrepreneurship and companies better.
Yeah. And then it catches like wildfire. So who knows who they're going to inspire next. And it's just, that's what entrepreneurship is all about.
Absolutely. Being in 23 cities with New York City right now is such a huge accomplishment. And we're going to film today's show at Bootlegger is great because Errol, the founder himself, actually came from very small beginnings and became something really impressive. I cannot wait to meet him.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. Let's go meet him.
All right, let's do it.
Hi there.
So nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Oh, congratulations, brother.
Thank you so much, and welcome to Bootlegger.
Thank you. I mean, we just talked a little on the way here, but congratulations on your success.
Thank you so much. Well, I wish I could take it all, but we have a great team here, so.
Tell us about this establishment. Like, what was the idea? You call it Bootlegger, you had it on this corner. I mean, what was the concept?
Well, the great thing about Bootlegger, it's just a culmination of a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you knew this, but there was 2 other businesses, bar restaurants that were here prior to us, but we just hit it really well. My partners, all coming from the bar industry, really wanted to do our own thing, and we just happened upon this and really brought something special to this corner of the neighborhood, and we're just been excited to have.
Very excited about today's power interview coming from the Robbins family, a name that everybody knows. Jairek Robbins with Jairek Robbins Companies is a performance coach. Going to talk to you a little bit about his story, but also empowering your American dream. Jairek, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, you got a hell of a story. So you had less than a week left to live while you were doing charity work. Real quick, tell us that story.
So I was working teaching organic farming in a village over in Uganda, and I got malaria twice. There was no running water, no toilets, no electricity, just rural farming village. And we were teaching them how to retill the land that had been poisoned by some illegal pesticides that were sold to the local farmers there. And so in the work, malaria was rampant. And so I got malaria. And I remember sitting down at 20 years old thinking, A, that was not the plan. That was never what we wanted to accomplish. And then B, the concept of what am I going to do? Like, I can't get home to see my family. My bucket list seemed to now fade away because how am I going to buy a house, start a business, finish school, and do all the things I wanted to do? And then what it really came down to, if I was going to have any chance at having some type of dream life in that moment, I had to redesign what my daily life was going to look like for these next 6 days to figure out how to make it a life that I lived fully, I loved deeply, and hopefully I did something that mattered far beyond my physical presence here on this planet. And so that became the goal. I called it, designing my ideal day, which was how would you design the type of day where if you died at the end of that day, you would high-five yourself on the way out and feel damn proud that you did it.
Well, pretty incredible story. What I love about what you're doing now is, we see online there's a lot of coaches and life coaches. You're niched in a unique way where you're a performance coach. So you work with entrepreneurs, business owners who already have their act together, but you're actually enhancing their performance. Explain what that means to you.
So it's really simple. We look at people who, like you said, they have their act together, they're doing good, but deep down inside, they know they could be doing better. And so we look at them and we look at them from a human standpoint and say, how's your sleep? You know, the sweet spot for sleep is 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep per night. If you're getting less than 5 after 2 days, you're considered cognitively the equivalent of being drunk in the way you psychologically make decisions and perform. So
Wow.
7.5 to 8 hours of sleep. And is it high quality sleep? Are you getting high REM sleep, which allows your glial cells to cleanse your brain and get the neurotoxins out? Are you getting deep sleep, which replenishes your body and makes you stronger and more capable and replenishes you for the next day? So we use a meditation device. It's a medical grade EEG scan of their brain every morning. I have a dashboard that I can see how well they're able to calm and clear their brainwaves every morning. So we know that they're able to stay aware of the chaos, yet totally focused on the task at hand. And if you can't do it for 10 minutes in the morning, I guarantee you can't do it throughout the day.
So
What's
fascinating about this, Jairek, is you're not just speaking on stage and giving rah-rah around, you need to eat right, be healthy. You're actually measuring these things, and like a athlete, you're measuring performance and looking at the analytical things on this.
Exactly. We're tracking the data and we're looking at metrics and we're looking for what's real. My thought is I consider every one of our clients or people we work with as a performance athlete, just like an Olympic athlete. If you were to show up at Olympic training camp, the first thing we need to figure out is how fast can you actually run if running is your sport.
Sure.
So we put you on the track and we measure you. We figure out what your sleep looks like, nutrition, mindfulness. The one I didn't get to, which is interesting, is even your breath pattern all day. There's a little device that goes on your belt, tracks your breathing pattern, and it tells us when you're calm, when you're focused, and when you're tense. Now, people like to take pride. I've had entrepreneurs and investors and hedge fund managers go, oh, I'd probably break the thing. I'm so stressed. But here's what's wild. If you think of the 3 worst business decisions you've ever made and how much money you've lost, I guarantee it was from a place of being stressed and not calm or focused. And if I could prevent you from losing that amount of money just by helping you notice you're stressed and getting you to breathe and get back to focus, boom. It's amazing what it does for people.
Jairek, thanks so much for coming on the show. You got an incredible journey. I know the best is still to come with you. Thank you for sharing it on our show here today. We'll have you on again soon. Appreciate it, man.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. What better illustration of the American dream than Jairek Robbins? What a great story. All right, more of the show coming up next.
Wow, they're killing it in the market. Speaking of killing it, how you doing here?
Bootlegger's crushing it.
All right?
Yeah.
So I've been staring at this bell all day. What's up with the bell?
So funny story is when we first opened, as you can tell, there's a fire truck going here almost every 5 minutes. We wanted to do something with that. And at the same time, this new spirit came on board, called Fireball. I'm sure you've heard of it.
I love Fireball.
Yeah. So every time the fire truck comes around, we do this. $4 shots of Fireball, and the place goes nuts.
I want to welcome back onto the American Dream Nina Bhanot. She is a top 20 RE/MAX realtor in Texas with RE/MAX Premier Group. Nina, thank you so much for being back on the show. Great to see you again.
Hi, Jen. Great to see you. We've kind of talked in the past that buying and selling real estate can be one of the most financial tasking activities that an individual can take. And it's really important that, you have your financial goals and needs in perspective. So I would like to introduce Mary Lyons, the wealth woman. She's an acclaimed financial advisor that is great at what she does. And she actually also used to be a lender, and she also has her own real estate portfolio. So she brings a really unique, different perspective to the discussion. And she really tries to take somebody's visions, put them in perspective with their financial goals, and really tries to help achieve them.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be able to offer some insight.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Mary. So based on your background and experiences working with the same kind of clients, what do you see that are some of the most common watch-outs or mistakes that people are making?
Yeah, I think the number one mistake I see when people are buying homes is that they buy too much house, and I can give you an example of that. I would say it's a great example, but the outcome of the story was certainly not great. I had met a gentleman who, as a young gentleman, was working for a builder, And he was making probably about $120,000 a year. He had purchased a house at the very top end of what he could afford, somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000. And when the financial crisis hit, he lost his job and really wasn't qualified to do anything other than sell homes or find a job in sales. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to find another job making what he had been making previously. And the house ended up going into foreclosure. And I had to help walk him through even a bankruptcy because of some of the things that happened because of that. So buying too much house is always a problem.
Yeah, a lot of time when I'm working with my clients, I counsel them and say, just because you're pre-approved for a certain amount doesn't mean you should be purchasing to that price point, because you really need to take into account, the costs that go with home ownership. So whether it's utilities, home insurance, or increasing property taxes, you want to look at the big picture, and your financial advisor can usually help you do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that that's a great point. I mean, having a good inspector or a team of professionals helping you along the way seems critically important to help minimize some of those unexpected challenges and changes that might come up.
Well, I think the second thing that really helps with that is making sure that you have a really good inspector, because there are always unexpected expenses whenever you're looking at a house. Things come up. Another example of that, this is actually a personal story. I was working with a realtor prior to having met Nina, and it was the day before closing, and I walked into the house to do the final look through, and there was a spot on the floor that looked a little interesting to me, and the realtor had told me that it was just a spot where the stain was drying because they had restained part of the floor, and it turned out it was actually a water leak in the foundation. So unexpected expenses happen all the time, and working with a realtor who takes care of you and is really looking towards your best interest becomes incredibly important.
So Nina, could you give us an example of how working with a financial advisor really helps us during this real estate process and really helps protect our best interest?
Yeah, a lot of times I do have clients who meet with their financial advisor before purchasing a house or when they're starting to think about it. But unfortunately, a lot of buyers don't do that. And I think, the dream of achieving home ownership is really possible. You can leverage the assets you have. And when you start talking with Mary, you really try and understand that there's different financial strategies and tools in place that exist for buyers and sellers to really make that happen. Maybe Mary, you can mention some of the
Sure.
things?
So I've seen buyers do all kinds of things. One of the things that I think is great for first-time home buyers is that you can actually tap into your IRA if you need to for up to $10,000, and you can take that money out and you don't have to pay penalties on it. So that's a nice perk of having saved that some people are unaware of. I've also seen people take a loan from a 401k to come up with a down payment, or a loan against a permanent insurance policy. So there are options for down payment other than just having cash on hand.
Sure. And Nina, for you, if someone's watching and they want to reach out or they want to learn a little bit more about that process, what do you advise them to do?
Yeah, I think, you can always reach out to myself, reach out to Mary. We'd love to help you out, but, keep in mind, reach out to the professionals that surround you. You really want to have professionals who are proactively putting you in the best position so that you can make the most informed decisions. I think really that's what's most important whenever you try and do any kind of decision when it comes to buying or selling, or just financial planning for your life in different life stages.
Sure, your team matters and who you surround yourself with matters.
Exactly.
Well, ladies, that's why we surround ourselves with you two. You two are some of the best in the business, and we really appreciate you being on with us today and sharing this insight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we will be right back with more of The American Dream.
Well, Errol, that was an awesome segment.
Yeah, that was.
But you know what's even more awesome?
What's that?
Tom Cruise and cocktail.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I got a little Tom Cruise in me.
Well, let's see what you got, Tom.
Okay.
Oh, that was actually awesome.
One of the amazing things about the American Dream Show is we have an opportunity to showcase business entrepreneurs and not just talk about their companies and why they're successful. We talk about the ingredients that went into their success, kind of their storylines. And before we kick to this segment, you showed me how to make your signature drink, right, which is
The Broken Butterfly.
The Broken Butterfly. And I thought it was so appropriate because a drink like this takes a lot of simple ingredients to make an amazing thing, just like a company or a great story. So I'm gonna try to recreate this drink right now, while Errol tells us how he went from barback to tech entrepreneur in 10 years.
Yeah. Started off as a bar back way back in Maryland before I moved out here, and I used working in the industry just to get me from A to B, pay my way through college.
Yep.
Through all that, I really learned what I really enjoyed in life. I mean, I did try different things. You know, I graduated in finance, worked in the finance world, even my hand in the real estate. I worked as an LO for a couple years, in 02 to 07. But through those different changes, through the markets and everything like that, I always came back here.
Yeah.
And fast forward to about 2009, when even though the market was not as great as it should be, the hospitality industry was thriving.
Sure.
So a lot of downtown venues that you'd see, I actually had my hand in helping open. So my first sidebar was one of the smaller clubs, and then Stingaree was a larger one.
Yeah.
And so that story kind of followed me a long way through it, just all the connections and contacts, and kind of how we started Bootlegger through all my friends that worked in the industry. But through all that, I noticed one thing that was always a consistent problem. I was getting about, at the time, 20 to 30 phone calls, emails, texts a day from friends, even fellow business owners in the industry, to finding a job. I never saw anything for like a bartender.
I'm going for the booze right now.
Go
Is
in.
that okay?
Yeah, go in right
going.
there. You're doing great, by the way.
Yeah.
This is the longest drink ever, but we love it.
I'm listening and making.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you were a bar patron?
Yeah.
You would walk right out the door.
Well, this is what we do every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Much faster.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk me through it.
Yeah, so in about 2014, I was opening up a nightclub called 80 Nightclub, which is no longer there, which is the ups and downs of all businesses.
Sure, yeah. Failure is important in success.
Yeah, I learned a lot. We had about 1,000 applicants come in, and my partners and I at the time, it took us forever just to find our core people.
Sure.
And so with that, we were trying to dialing in the sketch of what industry was going to be, and that's where I found my business partners.
I'm stoked.
Yeah. So let's get this drink
So
going.
this is moment of truth.
Yes.
Do I flip this over?
You're flipping it over.
Okay, I'm flipping it over.
And this is where you get to be Tom Cruise.
Tom
right now.
Cruise? Yeah, exactly. Do I look like Tom Cruise?
100%.
You know what? Here's the thing. I don't look like Tom Cruise, but I am taller, and I think about that when I compare myself to Tom Cruise.
I'll be
At least
honest.
I'm taller.
One of the reasons why I wanted a bartender is cocktail.
It's cocktail, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so
But see, I didn't want to be at TGI Fridays in Manhattan. I wanted to be down in Bermuda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, meeting girls wearing like flowy white stuff, on vacay.
Yeah.
So what do I do? Okay, so
That's
I
a
grab
strain.
this.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then pour it.
Yep. Strain it out.
So will you try this and tell me if I did it right?
Okay. Well. That's definitely something else, but it looks pretty. It's the right color.
Oh, that's such a bartendery thing.
Oh yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah.
I want to do the bartendery thing.
Yeah. See,
All right.
that's tasting it. So you're not putting your thing in there. That's how you taste
That's
it.
not that bad.
No, great
That's
job.
not that bad. Thank you.
go.
And one of the cool things about the American Dream is everybody has their own interpretations of it. While we're at your bar, you have all these great patrons here. I thought it'd be fun. Why don't we ask these patrons what their version of the American Dream is?
Hi guys.
Hey, how you doing? All right. So, you volunteered. What's your version of the American Dream?
I think my version of the American Dream is being able to pick your passion and being able to follow it until you make something that you've created in your head for so long come to fruition.
What's your interpretation of the American Dream?
You know, I believe if you have a dream, you go for it, you achieve it, and you kind of put it out there. You gotta put yourself out there. That's pretty much it.
Live and laugh with friends and people that you meet each and every day.
Being able to start from nothing and make something out of it, right? You're not stuck in any kind of box.
To laugh as much as you want.
Profound. Cheers. Thank you all so much for being involved.
So there you have it. Those are so many different versions of the American Dream. Right now, we're going to showcase one of the best brokers in your market. Check it out.
Welcome back to the show. Well, now in this segment, we're going to be discussing new construction homes, specifically Altura Homes and the Jessica Hargis Group. With my next two guests, I want to welcome back onto the American Dream, Jessica Hargis, owner, broker, and realtor of Jessica Hargis Realty, and her guest today, Kelly Hoodwin, VP of Sales and Marketing for Altura Homes. Ladies, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you
for having us.
So, Jessica, many home buyers right now seem to be really interested in purchasing new construction homes. What are some of the advantages of purchasing new construction?
Well, I think every family just loves that new home feel. You know, it's not someone else's carpet. Maybe they built from scratch and they went to the design center and just designed their kitchen themselves. And so it just really gives them a personalized home. And then really and honestly today, the builders are using such energy efficiency when they're picking out the products for the home. So to the AC, to the insulation in the walls, radiant barrier, I've looked at utility bills that just blow my mind on how low they are in a new home.
So you can get some incredible savings there. Kelly, with so many new construction companies, why should someone go to Altura Homes specifically?
Well, Altura Homes has been in business for close to 40 years, and we're privately owned. So what that does is we can save on our cost. We don't have a whole lot of overhead, and we can kind of do what we want to do to a certain extent.
To a certain extent. Are there certain times of years for a home buyer to purchase a new construction home that might be better than other times?
Actually, it's always a good time to purchase a new construction home. There's not a bad time. But I would say right now is really one of the best times. It really depends on the builder's end of fiscal year, how soon that's coming up. And in our case, our fiscal year is coming up end of December. So right now we have inventory on the ground, and we want to get those closed before the end of the year. So right now is a perfect time for home buyers to come out, take a look at homes, purchase a home.
Purchase a home and customize a home. I mean, to Jessica's point, people can move in and really customize what they love, the carpet, the cabinets, and so it really truly feels like theirs.
It really does. I mean, because when they come in and customize, especially if they're doing what we call a to-be-built, they can come in and pick everything in the home.
Sure.
Now, the beauty of an inventory home is that the home is ready for them to move in. And so if they need something pretty quick, it's there for them.
So we've got some options there. What price range and parts of the Metroplex does Altura build in?
We are actually ranging anywhere from the low 200s up to a little bit over 600. And we are all over the metro. Well, we're all over the DFW area. We go anywhere from Waxahachie, Midlothian, out to Crandall, out to Greenville, and go up to Melissa. And we do quite a bit in the Rockwall area. We really try to keep it on the outskirts because we can purchase land a little bit less expensive out in those areas, and that way we can pass the savings on to our customers.
Sure, good point. Jessica, why should our viewers contact you? If they are interested in an Altura home, why couldn't they just walk in and purchase the home themselves?
Well, you know, that's a real big myth out there that they can go in and get a better deal from the builder. And the reality is the builder works really well with the agents. We have relationships. We're paid out of a marketing fund. So they typically are not going to offer a purchaser anything different than what a realtor could negotiate for them. In fact, sometimes the realtors can negotiate a better deal. We're also always up to date with the builders on their incentives, their closeout communities, which you can usually get a really good deal. Their new communities, it's always great to buy when they're new or when they're closing out. You can get a great deal. So working with a realtor, it's really important that you have a third-party representation. I'm not saying that there will always be glitches, and especially Altura does a fantastic job. But if there is a glitch, the thing with our agents is we know who to contact, we know these communities and the sales managers, and we definitely can be that voice for the consumer.
Great advice, as always. Ladies, thank you so much for being on The American Dream today.
Thank
you.
And stick around, we'll be right back with more of the show. We want to welcome back onto The American Dream branch manager of the Tuttle Group with Fairway Independent Mortgage, Andy Tuttle, and his guest today, Julian Sado, behavioral coach and owner from Pivot to Change. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks again, Jen.
So Andy, today we're going to be talking really about what buyers are experiencing during the home buying process and why and how they can really have a less stressful experience. Is that why you wanted to bring Julian on today?
For sure, I definitely did, because as important as it is to understand the technical aspects of the mortgage process and who's involved, I think it's equally as important to understand the why behind it and what's going on in the psychology. This is the third most stressful thing people do behind death and divorce, and so we need to make sure they're prepared to have a great experience. And yeah, that's why I brought on Julian.
Yes. So with buying a purchase or buying a home or refinancing a home, everything that's happening in the body is subconscious. The feelings of stress, the feeling of what ifs, the feeling of fear is taking over because you're not sure what's going to happen. You're not really being told what's going to happen for sure. So because of that, there's these chemicals that happen that just take over in the body, from cortisol to adrenaline to even dopamine, which is a positive chemical. But those chemicals impact your thought process as well as your decision making. So in your, I would say, your ability to focus and be calm in those. So in some ways, you're spending 22 plus days as if you're on road rage. And so the goal is to really think about how to not have those chemicals take over your subconscious mind.
So how do we do just that? How do we prevent those chemicals from taking over so that we can go through this process really clearly and ideally calmly?
That's a great question. So really what you need to do is first be aware that you are afraid. There's fear going on. There's unknowns. And because of that, you have to be able to consciously talk to yourself, word choices and deciding what happens in the best scenario versus the worst scenario and assuming the best is going to happen. Ask questions. Don't assume. And then share your feelings with your loan officer, with your realtor. These are some of my concerns and here's some things I'm afraid of. And let them give you some definite answers so you have some clarity. And the first thing you need to do is first just be aware.
I would guess that a lot of people going through this process will even experience symptoms of panic for the first time, potentially even in their lives. Besides communicating it to their loved ones or people around them, any other tips or suggestions that you have?
Interesting enough you should say that, because when they have that anxiety, they look for ways to feel better, which means they might go out and buy things, which means they might do things that make them feel better, but can hurt them in the process. So the goal is really to just really settle down and understand that this is a process. It is cumbersome. It has a lot of ins and outs, but it will work itself out. If you're prepared for it and you're there already at the point of buying, then you're prepared to close the deal.
And like you said, just acknowledge that what you're experiencing is fear-based and it will pass. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show today. Great information.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks again, Jim.
And we'll be right back with more of The American Dream.
Well, that was a really inspiring show. I think one of the cool things about this new season is the American Dream is going out in the field, and we're checking out business owners as they're doing some unbelievable things. Bootlegger here in California was a great place to have this show hosted. Tawny, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part was honestly meeting Errol. I've been here so many times and just have no idea about the history behind it. It's just been coming and having great drinks and food, but to be able to know where he came from, and he never stopped, and he's still growing.
Yeah. And the drink?
And the drink and the broken butterfly is amazing. So yeah, I'm excited for it all.
Yeah, that's the fun part about this business, right? Is you have alcohol. I don't think you can do that in real estate.
Without it, where would you be?
A cause of and solution to all problems. Maybe not in business, but thank you everybody for tuning in. Tawny and I had a great time at Bootlegger here in California. Thank you to Errol, and catch you next episode.